welcome to the Mother of All Grief.
Thank you for joining us today. Today we are going to be chatting with Leeann about her story and all about Tyson.
Yeah. So Tyson is my middle boy of 3 boys. Tyson was born a fiery, kind of wild, crazy little guy. Just from day one, from the time he was born, he was just kind of always keeping us on our toes.
Literally.
Literally.
The day he was born.
Literally. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Tyson had a kind of scary entry into this world. I was attempting a VBAC.
Vaginal birth after cesarean,
Yep.
for those of us that don't know what that means.
That's right. And
So, because Cohen was a C-section.
Yep, my firstborn was a C-section, and I was a determined mama, and I was going to have my second baby.
Because he was breech. Cohen was breech,
Yeah,
and we didn't know. And you didn't know.
I had no choice. So, yeah, I just kind of was really determined, and Tyson, unfortunately, he came a little bit early, and my uterine, my scar started to rupture. And so I had to have another emergency C-section.
So scary.
Yeah. And I remember the doctor saying to me, like...
How did you know?
I could feel because
you didn't have drugs?
No, I had no drugs. I had been induced after many hours of really not progressing. And I could just feel myself tearing. And I had a doula, and she even knew. She's like, something's not right here. And there was just like no break in between contractions. Like you could just feel the contraction and then just like ripping pain. So when they got in there, sure enough, yeah, I was tearing. And so afterwards, the doctor said to me, like, you could have lost your baby. Wow. It's a good thing you didn't have the epidural because you wouldn't have been able to feel all of that. So I often reflect back on that. I'm like, we could have lost Tyson then. Right. And that was always kind of something that really kept me going in my early grief but we got 3 more years with him.
Right.
Even though I didn't know what was coming.
Right. And both things are so scary and so tragic, but it's like, you're right. And to be able to, that gratitude piece of like 3 years is better than if you would have lost him at birth. That's
right. So Tyson was my colicky baby. He was just full of adventure as he got older, brave, fearless, like just would stand on his change table as I was getting him dressed. And just the second I turned my back, Mom, and he'd jump and just expect that Mom was going to catch him running across the kitchen table. Like there was just no controlling this incredibly beautiful, wild child of mine. And he was a force. Like everywhere we went, people would like turn and look at him. I think because you expected him to be so angelic because he was this like blondie with blue eyes, and my other kids are brown hair and brown eyes, and he just stood out, and and he was so loud. He's still loud. He's still loud. But he was just, such a presence. So we lived a beautiful 3 years with him, but I always had something in the back of my mind that I might lose a child one day. I've always been very intuitive.
Like a knowing that
it was just a knowing. And I remember the day I was sitting with my sister, and I just said, there's this feeling in me that I'm going to lose a child, and it's going to be Tyson.
That's crazy. When was that compared to when it, how old do you think he was? Were you pregnant? Were you pregnant with Tanner?
No, I had 3 all boys.
Oh, you already had them all.
Yep. We had 3 boys in 3 years, so it was bang. He was probably 2.
Wow.
Just because he was so wild and crazy. And I remember saying it'll probably be in his teenage years because he's going to get himself into trouble because he's such a handful. He's really hard to keep hold of. You see those kids with
The leash.
The leash. Like, I probably should have had one of those for him. I'd often like hold the back, the hood of his jacket and just, come on, because he was just a goer. So he kept me busy. I started getting really bad anxiety. Tyson, like I said, he was kind of difficult, and so he would not go to sleep easily. He made so much noise. He kept everybody awake, and we only had 3 bedrooms upstairs. So we had tried putting him in with his older brother, and he kept him up all night. We tried putting him in with his younger brother. That didn't go well either. And so we had a bedroom in the basement, and I felt awful, but I'm like, okay, well, just for now, let's just get him in the basement. And he was happy down there.
Like his own space.
It was his own space.
Interesting.
He would climb out of his crib no matter how many boards we screwed to it to try and keep him in place. He would take off his sleep sack, rip off his diaper. Like, he just needed a place to be wild.
Interesting.
Because he was wild. But I started getting really bad anxiety. And I didn't know if it was because he was in the basement, and I didn't like that. I wanted all my babies to be together. And I knew it was only going to be temporary. In fact, his dresser and change table, all of that was still upstairs. All of his pictures, it's just like you sleep down there. So I started to have really bad anxiety. We had a baby monitor, so I could just always hear him. And I would get up multiple times a night to just go check on him. And I didn't know why. It got so bad that I actually had to do cognitive behavioral therapy. I had to go on medication because my anxiety was just like, I don't know if it was an inner knowing that we were going to lose him, but it was getting really bad. So Tyson's death was very unexpected. And sudden. So unlike the journey you went on, we were not expecting to lose a child. And I'm not going to get into all the details because they're pretty painful, and it's just really raw.
For sure.
Maybe one day I'll be able to get there, but what I can tell you was it was a Saturday, a normal Saturday, and we got up and we had breakfast and we played and the babies napped, and it was in February 2nd of 2019, so almost 6 years now. And the boys were outside with my husband, and there was just an accident that happened when my husband's back was literally just turned. And that shock, that panic of not knowing where Tyson was or what happened was, it was like an out-of-body experience. So I had to perform CPR on Tyson for 20 minutes before the ambulance arrived. My oldest had just turned 5, and he witnessed all of it.
Oh my goodness.
It was really traumatic.
For sure.
And I just remember in that moment of doing CPR, like, I had ripped jeans on, and I had really bad severe frostbite on my knees after from just being knelt in the snow for so long. And just all I could think about was, I've got to save my baby. I've got to save my baby. And every now and again, the like searing pain from the snow on my knees would kick in, and I would just think, why are you thinking about, like, my brain was just going like insane. Why are you thinking about your knees? Your baby, your baby, your baby. And when the ambulance came, I got into the ambulance and I turned to my husband and I said, I'm not going to let him die. I'm not going to let him die. And I sat up in the front because I couldn't watch. I didn't want to watch. And I prayed. And I prayed to all my family in heaven, and I prayed to God. And when that wasn't working, I called to the devil and I said, I will give you my soul if you save my baby. That didn't work either. So when we got to the hospital, I just remember like being left alone in the ambulance. Like obviously Tyson was the number one priority, but I couldn't move. And I finally stumbled out and I could barely walk. I don't even remember how I got into the hospital, to be honest. And I sat there with my hands in my head in my hands, and I was just in a chair, and this stranger came up to me, and she just held me and said the Lord's Prayer.
What?
And the nurse came to me and asked me if I wanted to be in the room while they worked on Tyson, and I just said I couldn't. I couldn't see his body be manipulated that way. Yeah. You know, he was 3. He was just little. Yeah. So I was in a waiting room, and I think I just sounded like a crazy person. I just kept mumbling to God and just praying, and I just remember the moment when they came in and told me that there was nothing more they could do. And
was Jordan there then?
No.
You were by yourself?
I was by myself. Jordan was, he followed, he came after, like, he had to wait. I think pardon me, I think a police officer had stayed behind with our kids until our neighbor got there, and then Jordan came. So Jordan didn't know what he was walking into.
No.
And at that point, I just remember kicking off my boots, kicking off my jacket, and I just climbed into bed and I just laid with him. And I had the nurse just bring a warm blanket because his body just got cold. And I just kept asking them to bring more blankets. And I laid there and I just kept rubbing his thumb to make color come back. And I just rubbed his thumb, and he had tubes down his throat and they wouldn't take them out. And I begged, please take them out. And so anyways, my husband came, and Jordan we just all laid in bed together. And I remember thinking just like, I don't understand. I don't know how we got here. This doesn't make any sense.
Because your morning was so normal.
Everything was so normal. There was a before and there was an after. And this just didn't make any sense. It was like, pinch me, this isn't real. There was, I barely even remember getting home. I remember them asking if this was hours of after just laying with our son. And
because how do you leave?
Yeah. But then it also felt so awful because we're in a hospital and he has tubes. And there was also this voice in me being like, the next time you see him at the funeral home, he'll look better. He did not. And I wish I had stayed longer. So many things that I wish. We had clipped some of his hair. I wish I clipped more. I have this little piece, and every now and again I rub it against my face, but I wish we kept more. And I just wish I could have kissed him more and hugged him more. And
because there's never going to be enough time.
Yeah. And in that moment, even though your brain is completely frazzled, that this is it. So when we got home, we went straight to bed. Our other children had been taken to a neighbor's house, and we were given the medications to help us sleep. They didn't work. And we slept in Tyson's bed. We went downstairs and we slept in his bed. And then the next day, most of our family lives in Ontario. We live here in Saskatchewan. And so we had family flying in and coming to our rescue. And
but then they all needed to stay with you?
No, I think most people, I don't even remember.
Really?
Like that's,
interesting.
You're just in such a fog.
Totally.
I think most people stayed at like a hotel. Maybe our moms stayed on a couch.
You just forget. It's a blur.
It's just, you're in such a blur. You know what I remember? The first thing I ate was a Greek salad. Like I hadn't eaten in like 3 days. And for some reason, every time I eat a Greek salad, I remember that. I can't tell you who was at my house or who I talked to.
And where they stayed.
But I remember it was Greek salad. Maybe because it just tasted so good after not eating for days. But
like nourishment. Finally.
Yeah. So, our families came, and then it was, of course, like, what about our kids?
Yeah.
Jordan wanted to see our children, and I did not. I didn't want to see them without their brother there.
For sure. The hole was bigger.
Yeah.
Because it was almost like you could be in disbelief.
Yeah.
If they were all not there.
That's right. Because then this nightmare is just like...
I'm going to wake up from it.
Yeah. But then, so our neighbors they're our friends. They would bring our kids and they'd go home and we'd hang out with our kids for like an hour or two. And then can you come pick them up again? I need them. This is too much. And then they would come and take them. They were so good to us, just like chauffeuring our kids back and forth. And
that village.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We were just so blessed with so many incredible people. And then of course now we have to plan a funeral. And I've never planned a funeral. I've only ever been to my grandparents' funerals.
Right.
I didn't know anyone who had lost a child. And in fact, we've talked about this. You were the first person I probably reached out to because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. So the funeral planning, again, that was a blur. And I think back, like, I will admit this, when I saw everything from Marin's funeral, I felt very jealous. And I understand it's completely different.
Right.
You guys had months to plan it.
Right.
I think that's the thing of PTSD is you're in utter shock.
For sure you are.
And I think about things that we didn't do, that we should have done. What could we have done differently?
Yes.
But at
in that moment though, you're just like going through the motions because you don't even know what is up at that point.
Yeah.
And then you're just doing what you have to do because you're already way over capacity, I think.
Yeah.
Would you like it's just the shock of it?
Yeah. It was insane. Like it was just this, I felt like I was living a completely different life and I didn't even know how to exist. I straight up did not know how to keep going.
Right.
But I knew I had to keep going for my kids. And I knew that Tyson would never have wanted us to give up. And I felt him, oh my gosh. I remember sitting in the funeral home and just hearing Tyson. I couldn't concentrate to what anyone was saying because all I could hear was, like, this is how it was meant to be. This is how it was meant to be. And it was like over and over.
Interesting.
And over. And I knew that this was not my thought because I didn't think this was meant to be. I didn't want to believe.
You just wanted your kid back.
I just wanted my kid back. I would have done anything. A desperate mother is a mother to be fearful of. And I was pretty desperate. So, yeah. And then the funeral ends and then it's like, now what? Right? Like I didn't even know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to exist. I couldn't go outside. But what was funny is my anxiety was gone. It was like I knew that something was coming. And once it happened and once that part of it was over, it was like my anxiety just lifted. Because the worst had already happened.
Right.
There was nothing left to fear.
Yeah, and you were still living it.
Yeah.
So then what else can come at me? Right. That's interesting to look at it like that.
Yeah. I remember having to tell, so like my youngest was not even 2 yet, so he doesn't have any real memories of him with his brother. But my oldest was 5, and he does have some memories. They're a little bit skewed. Some of them are not good memories. He has memories of the accident, some of which aren't true, but he's kind of
like the story that he's told himself since then, maybe. Oh,
yeah,
because you just never know what a kid's understanding.
That's right. And we've
or maybe his nightmares that he feels like was like a vivid. Like you never know with dreams either,
that's
right?
That's true. Yeah, I never.
Like I wonder if he had like a dream of it.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Good point. But we had him in therapy for, probably a good chunk of time, like right after. But like he was in therapy last year again too. So I feel like we've all kind of just like it's this wave of it's hard and then we're managing and then it's yeah. But I just needed to I needed to heal myself, my family, my children. I needed to make sure that everybody was okay because we had to be. We didn't have any other choice.
Yeah. And they're what you've had. That's what you've left.
Yep. It was pretty special though. So we had to explain to a 5-year-old that Tyson had died. And I remember kneeling next to him. I was in his bedroom and he had like a little lamp and that was on. And I said, Tyson's gone to heaven. And he kind of, that's confusing for a 5-year-old. What's heaven?
Where is that?
And I said, Tyson is like a light. And I pointed to his lamp and I said, this light right here. And I'm like, Tyson is a bright light now in our life. And as soon as I said that, the light started to flicker.
What?
And it was, I think, the first time that I was like, he's here.
Oh my, I love those tingles. I just have them all over.
And my oldest, like my son was able to see that. And he was like
he's doing that.
Yeah, like, he's in the light, Mom. I'm like, he is the light.
Wow.
And so I think that was really like a turning point for us as a whole family to kind of see that Tyson is this. He's not here in the physical, but he has proved over and over and over again, even on the drive in, like he's always here. And
yes, let's talk about those signs that you even got today.
Yeah.
Because of course, it's always so hard to talk about this story. Like these are things that I've never even heard you talk about because it's so painful to talk about. And so when we were talking about what we were going to do our podcast for today, it was just like a different reminder for you to let you know that he's rooting for you.
Of course. Tyson's just, he's always there. And even though like the details of his death are really hard and they're really scary. And I guess one point that I just want to say with this is I think my struggle with not wanting to share all the details of his death is because you would need to understand so many things. You would need to understand how, like, who my husband and I are as parents. You would need to understand our property. You would need to understand how, like, these 5 random things happened that, like, never should have happened. And how, like, in a way, I know it sounds weird to be like, it was meant to be, but, like, there's no other explanation for how all the events led up to that point. And I feel like it's so difficult to be able to convey those things.
Yes.
That unless you truly knew us and knew this scenario, you just couldn't understand.
Yeah.
But I'm getting there. And it's getting, I think, easier to be able to talk. And I think it's important to be able to share these things. Yeah. Even the hard stuff.
For sure.
Because there are other people out there I know who are experiencing hardships and pain and suffering. But there's also a flip side to it. And I think that that's something that you and I have are these stories that have led to incredible blessings and strength and connections, like relationships with our children in spirit.
Oh, yeah. So say them. What you had today.
Yeah.
On the drive-in.
So Tyson's birthday is coming up on December 18th. He'll be 9. And I got in my van to drive here, and a little low on gas. So I can go 111 kilometers, which 11's Tyson sends us. That's his number.
And angel numbers. Just always angel numbers.
Right. 1111, 111. So 111, and I'm driving down our road, and I just so happened to glance at the clock, and it's 111. And I went, oh, hi, Tyson. So I literally shut off my music, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, your birthday's coming up. And, I'm starting to get emotional because I'm like, if you were here, I would be planning you this incredible birthday. And so we do all these different things, and I hope you're okay with what we're doing. And I glance, like I'm just rambling for a couple minutes, and as I'm approaching the highway from our road, this giant semi goes down with Tyson written across the side. It's a trucking company, but there it is, Tyson. And I drive those roads every day. I very, very rarely, like maybe once every 4, 5, 6 months.
That's so neat.
We'll see it. So I was just like, there he is. Just
like bang, bang, bang. 3 things all to just be like, okay.
Go make your I'm here, Mom.
Yeah.
Have a great day. My birthday is going to be awesome. Like, he's always amazing. So I'm really grateful that even though we've gone through something so tragic, and the PTSD is real. Like, I tell you, there's a lot of triggers, I think, when you go through something very sudden. But I always try and come back to Tyson and his light, and the fact that, like in that little lamp, that light that he showed us that first day, like, I'm here. And I don't think I would be able to get to this point in my healing if it wasn't for him constantly nudging me and encouraging me and giving me all those signs to let me know that I may not be here physically, but like, I'm here 100%.
And just reinforcing that belief.
Oh yeah. And now it's like our whole family, like we all talk to Tyson, we all get signs from Tyson. Everybody's signs are a little bit different. He was just, here's another crazy one, just because it's really, really fun. My girlfriend's daughter has a very close connection with Tyson. Mm-hmm. She actually physically saw him when she was, it was probably after 5 months after he had passed. Wow. Like, she saw him, and she was just a little girl. Like, she was maybe 4.
Cool.
It was crazy. So they have a very close connection. She's 9 years old now, and she had her cheer competition on the weekend. And my girlfriend sent me a video of it, and I said, oh, she did such a great job. And as I sent it, it was 111. I went, oh my God, Tyson is so proud of her too. And I was sitting in front of my computer, and those like bubble screensavers? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like blub, 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 and it's bouncing around slow. And as soon as I said, Tyson is so proud of her, the dang bubbles went like all over the screen. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to stop and take a video, and I showed her, and I was like, see? And apparently she had just been talking about Tyson and saying that she really missed him, and she hadn't had a sign from him in a while, or she hadn't felt him in a while. And I was like, well, there you go. Your little buddy. So those connections are, I think, really what keep me going and help through the hard days. And because I love the saying, they're not dead, they're just different.
Oh, that's good.
Because, yeah, he's right there with us. As is Marin. Yeah. As is all of our loved ones, right?
Yeah.
They're just
looks different.
They're there.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening to our story.
Well, thank you for sharing all of those hard things. And I know that's really hard to talk about, and I'm proud of you. So thank you. I know that Tyson's proud too.
Thank you. Well, if you guys have any stories of connection or signs you'd like to share, feel free to send us an email at themotherofallgrief@gmail.com.
We look forward to hearing from you. See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being here and walking with us today. If this resonates with you or made you think of someone who may need to hear our message, please consider sharing it with them. Please follow us, comment, and subscribe.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts at The Mother of All Grief. If you want to share with us your stories of connections with your loved ones or just be in touch, you can do so at themotherofallgrief@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for listening.